Hour 3 of our radio program. It's good to have you with us as we chat to you about what's going on this Tuesday, the first day of spring, believe it or not, on this 20th day of March. Good to have you aboard. Eddie Erickson and Colin Smelling. We'll hear from Tori maybe at 5:30. I haven't had a chance to have a conversation with him as we chat to you, and Steve Mariucci this hour. And that's where we begin here for a second and get to some other things with our little potpourri. Mariucci's on. We want to break down these quarterbacks, and we want to break down the Jets. Made a big move over the weekend. In case you missed it, you know what happened. I mean, they gave up a lot of second-round picks. Obviously, they switched picks with the Colts, and they ended up moving up to number 3 in this draft. I'm sure they called the Giants and asked the Giants if they were interested in moving down themselves. Now, the Jet-Giant have a very weird relationship. It's complicated. They are sort of co-owners of the stadium, but, I mean, listen, the Giant fan doesn't want anything to do with the Jets. We saw that with Geno Smith, and I think Mara kind of looks at himself and the franchise. We're the Giants and you're the Jets. I mean, how dare we trade with you? So I think that may have had a little something to do with that, and maybe that's why the Jets and Giants couldn't get together, but we don't know what the Giants are going to do yet. We'll have to wait and see on that. It appears the Browns are going to take a quarterback at 1 and not go with Barkley, which then makes it interesting for what the Giants might do. So, but the Jets move up to number 3, which, if nothing else, two things about it that are interesting. Number one, why would the Jets sign Bridgewater? I mean, that I don't understand. If they were gonna, now listen, they made the trade after they signed Bridgewater, so I guess you can make the argument that, in fact, sort of like Tim Tebow a long time ago when they signed Stanton at the quarterback and they brought Tebow in and had to let Stanton go and Woody Johnson like a horse's ass. I don't know when they made the move to get Bridgewater as their plan B with the quarterbacks. I do not know if they thought they could make a trade with Indianapolis or anybody else to move up. But in hindsight, you wonder, they could have gotten Bridgewater anytime. I mean, they had McCown sitting there. I don't understand why the Jets really had to feel to make a move to get Bridgewater. They had McCown. They knew they had the 6th pick. They knew they probably wanted to trade up, and now they're sitting with 2 quarterbacks. I mean, very weird. I don't. It's only, it's not a ton of money. It's not the end of the world, but it's about reps. It's about training camp, and you got Bridgewater sitting there too. So that was a little strange to me. But the Jets obviously, feel very good about, 3 of the 4 quarterbacks and thinking they can get one of them. I mean, because if you make that trade, if you're the Jets, the first thing you have to do when you move to 3 is you have to assume the worst. And the worst would be, Donald and somebody else would get traded, would get picked before you had a chance to pick your quarterback, so that you would have to, let's put Donald and Allen, because they appear to be the top 2. So you'd have to, if you're the Jets, feel comfortable with either drafting number 3, that being, Rosen, or obviously maybe even Mayfield. So the Jets must feel that they can win with any of the 4 or really any of their top 3 before they made this move. It's a move they had to make. The Jets have not had a franchise quarterback in eons. They've had some moments with Pennington. They had a year or so with Testaverde. They had a couple years with Richard Todd. But for the most part, since Namath, the Jets really haven't had a guy at the position. So now they're going to get one. They should get a quarterback. Now he's got to get it right. We'll see if he can get it right. There's no proof in his resume, McCaffergan, that he's going to go out there and go get himself a QB that knows what he's doing at the position. He did a bad job with Hack. He's a good GM. Very good GM, but he did it. The Hackenberg thing was a disaster. Second round for him, that was a mess. Fitzpatrick was pretty good. That was a good pluck, good pickup. Geno Smith, you can't blame him on Geno Smith. McCown was a good move. He had a pretty good year for the Jets last year, so he's been good at that versatile veteran guy who's a stopgap, but he has never proved that he can draft the guy. With Houston, he never proved it, and, he hasn't proved it yet with the Jets, with Hackenberg, so we see if he's successful. So right now, listen, the Browns at 1. Seems like they're going to take a quarterback at 1. Obviously now, if they take Barkley at 1, they're going to get the 3rd quarterback at 4. Because the Giants, you have to think, are going to take a quarterback, and you think the Jets would take a quarterback, and then the Browns would get their 3rd choice. And, it seems like the Browns have made a decision that the top 2 quarterbacks are better than the 3rd one, whoever the 3rd one might be. Now, so that sounds like the Browns would take a quarterback 1, Donald, and that means the Giants are going to be sitting there at 2, and nobody really gets quite a feel on Gettleman. They've gone out of their way, him and Pat Shermer, the new Giant coach, of waxing poetic on Eli. So, I mean, and Eli's got a year or two left. They have gone on and on about what they think Eli can still do. They've, made their move along the offensive line with Soldier from the Patriots. So they brought in a running back. They've added guys with their defense. I don't know. To read the Giants is very tricky. Remember, Gettleman's mentor is Accorsi. Nobody believes in quarterbacks more than Ernie. I mean, he drafted Elway, he loves Unitas, and he got Eli. So if anybody knows quarterbacks, it's Accorsi, and he's probably whispering in Gettleman's ear, don't let yourself lose a quarterback. But Gettleman's made all these moves to make you think that maybe he's not going to draft a quarterback. So, but then he didn't trade with the Jets either. So, and he could have gotten a mountain full of players for the Jets. Look what Indianapolis did. They got 3 second-round picks, 1 next year, 2 this year. So Gettleman could have done the same thing, if not a little more, which makes you think he's going to take a quarterback. But it's all guesswork. The Jets do what they have to do, so they make the move to number 3. So we'll keep an eye on that. Browns, it sounds like they're going to take Donald. Maybe they take Allen, one of the two. The Giants then would have their choice of the other, and then the Jets would have Rosen or Mayfield. Now the Bills could still move to number 2, but the Colts made a good point. And if you read the Colts stories, which I happened to look through after this trade, the Colts said, we have basically examined this draft, and we think there are about 7 or 8 impact players. And if you go to 12, you're not going to get one of those guys. So that's why we went to 6. So, I mean, it made it sound like the Bills were talking to the Colts too, but the Colts indicated that if you go all the way down to 12, you're going to get the second-tier player, and you're not going to get the first-tier player. So the Colts obviously feel that 3 quarterbacks, Barkley, maybe 4 quarterbacks in Barkley, that they will still have maybe the offensive lineman out of Notre Dame, that they will have a very good player there at number 6, regardless of who falls to them. And they wouldn't have that same quality of player at number 12. So we'll have to wait and see. The Jets still made their case. They beat the Bills to the punch, it looks like. We'll see what occurs here come draft day. We'll talk to Mariucci about this a little bit later on. That's item number 1. Item number 2 is Tyronn Lue. I don't make a big deal about this. It sounds like he's going to try to come back in a week. So, I mean, this might bode poorly for the future. They might decide, and Lue, that a clean break at the end of the season, if it's not a successful postseason, may be the way to go. We'll have to wait and see on that. But Lue sounds like he's going to be back, before the end of the season. It sounds like that, the losing, figuring out the new parts. You don't think these coaches live and die these games in the NBA? They sure do. But Lue takes a step back. This is a young man. He's an athlete too. He played forever. This is not a 65-year-old guy, who's 100 pounds overweight. This is a big-time guy here who was a former player and everything else, but he needed a blow, so he takes it. Now we will see with Lue. I don't think it's that big a deal at the moment. Larry Drew has coached in the NBA before. He's coached the Cavaliers when Lue's taken a couple of leaves of absence. I think he's missed 3 games this year in the past, so we'll see what Drew can do. The Cavs are fighting for the division with Indiana. They got a half a game lead on the Pacers. If you look at, and also the Wizards. Right now the Raptors are going to be the 1, the Celtics are going to be the 2, and then that 3, 4, 5 is going to be Washington, Cleveland, or Indiana, and they will fall in that area. And then away we go. I don't think the Cavs care. I think they like to get a home court, so they don't want to be any less than 4. I don't think the Cavs care if they play Toronto in the second round or Cleveland, because that's what it comes down to. If you're the 3 seed, you get the second round, Toronto or Boston. If you're the 3 seed, you get the Celtics. If you're the 4 seed, you get Toronto. And I don't know if the Cavs, they beat the drums out of both of them year after year anyway, so I don't know if the Cavs care that much of which one they play in round 2. The question with Cleveland's going to be a fascinating story here, because are we going to get the Cleveland that pays attention and gets Love back and away we go? Or are they going to be, and Love, did he play last night? He did. First game back, he scored 18 points. Or are we going to be a team that, I know he was coming back against the Bucks and they won and he played. Or are we going to be a Cleveland team that, we're going to, be on edge because they don't know what to expect expect after what has been a very average regular season. So the 3, 4, or 5 choice in that conference is interesting. As far as the postseason is concerned in the NBA right now, in that Eastern Conference, there's really nobody pressing Milwaukee. Those 8 teams are going to make it. I mean, we don't know the seeds, but Cleveland, Indiana, Washington will jockey for positions, and also Philadelphia will jockey for positions 3, 4, 5, and 6. And Miami and Milwaukee will be 7 and 8, and loser will get the Raptors, and the winner will get the Celtics. So the 8 teams are pretty much organized in that conference. Detroit's too far back. They're not going to make the playoffs. I wonder if Stan Van Gundy's okay there in Detroit. They have been fired now for a couple of years, and they got off to a good start. Houston's going to win the division and win a conference. They're 56 and 14. Golden State's got a lot of injuries right now. They actually lost to Sacramento at home on Friday night. So the Warriors got a bunch of guys hurt. Who knows on Curry? Rib issues for Durant. He's going to miss 2 weeks. The question about Golden State is, are they going to be able to turn it on like they're not to miss the beat once that postseason begins? I have no reason why they won't. I still think they're by far the prohibitive favorite in the conference. I got to see Houston. Paul, who never wins anything, and Harden, who I never trust. I got to see, and D'Antoni's style. I got to see Houston, play a defensive-oriented game in a big spot, and win a game 88-86 in a postseason scenario before I believe Houston's going to be the 1, and the Warriors are going to be the 2. Portland now is going to be the 3. They've won like 13, 14 in a row. The Trailblazers have played very, very well, so they're going to be matched up with the Warriors in round 2 if they get by that opening round. And Portland beat Golden State not too long ago at home. They can score. They gave the Warriors a little run last year. The Trailblazers will get Golden State in the second round, providing they both survive the opening foray. And right now, Oklahoma City is the 4th seed. Minnesota's fallen off, no Jimmy Butler. Utah's been on fire, but, Oklahoma City's played well, too. So right now, OKC would be the 4th seed. And, they would be locked on with Houston in the second round of the playoffs. Houston plays well against Oklahoma City. Keep that in mind. Utah has been unbelievable. We can look at Utah for a minute. I think Utah may have been 20 and 29, and now they're was it that bad? I mean, they haven't been that good, so maybe they were a little better than that. But the Jazz right now are 40 and 30. They've won 9 in a row, and they were 7-8 games under 500 for a long period of time. I don't know what their low water mark was, but they were significantly under 500, and now they're 10 over. And Utah's playing Atlanta tonight, so that's going to be 11 over. So Utah's done a tremendous job of getting back in the mix in the NBA, and I saw them play the other night. Utah, they got players. We all know about Mitchell. He's been great. Gobert is tremendous. I mean, they picked up where they left off. That's a team that lost Hayward, and because they hit the pick, number 13 with Mitchell, they've been okay. So the Jazz are going to be in the mix there in the NBA postseason. Right now, the Clippers and Denver are going to fight Minnesota and New Orleans and maybe the Spurs for those last couple of spots. Clippers have 32 losses. So does Denver. Well, Denver might have 33. Denver's got 33 losses. Denver has not played well on the road. They've lost 2 in a row. They're 11 and 23 away from home. So Denver right now, they lost to Denver's got 33. Minnesota's got 31. And New Orleans and San Antonio have 30. So, right now, Denver and the Clippers have 32. So that's going to be an interesting spot. Denver, Clippers, T-Wolves, at the moment, one of those 3 will make it. So, and Minnesota's got all sorts of injuries. Denver's got a tough schedule. Where New Orleans is. Haven't played that well lately. Utah was 19 and 28, and Utah right now is 40 and 30. Wow. Utah is 21 and 2 in the last 23 games. That's impressive. 17 after the hour. We continue. Mad Dog on Lee.